Right, so it is 6:05, so we'll get started. Welcome everyone to the Student Engineers Council's Expo Prep event. I hope you guys are excited for Expo next week. We are very excited to have you guys here. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A chat whenever they come up. We'll make sure to get those answered either as you ask them or in our Q&A sessions. We'll have 2 of them. So let's see. My name is Mary Hassan. I'm the Expo Chair for the Student Engineers Council, and I'll be leading both the Brazen information session and the Expo information session and the Brazen demo. Naman, if you want to take off.
Hey guys, I'm Naman. I run MassApply, which was recently created to help people effectively job search, and we're really excited to be partnering with SEC for Expo to really provide you guys with as much as you need to help you make the most of this experience, I guess, going virtual. So what we've done, I guess we'll get into more what we're doing, but yeah, that's us.
And hi guys, I'm Sana. I'm also on MassApply, and I'm excited to talk to you guys about it and help you guys with your application journey.
Hi y'all, I'm Anthony. I'm the Director of Philanthropy for the Student Engineers Council. I'm also Aerospace and Ocean for the year of 2022, and I'm going to go over resume building and some secret tips and tricks that I have accumulated.
I'm Molly. I'm the Awards and Scholarships Chair for the SEC, and today I'm just going to do a presentation for you guys for elevator pitches, especially in today's virtual age.
Hi everyone, my name is Ryan. I'm the LEC Chair for the Student Engineers Council, and I'm doing a presentation on building the ideal LinkedIn profile.
Hi guys, I'm Shivani. I'm the President of the Student Engineers Council, and I'll be here answering some of your questions.
And hi guys, I'm Allie. I'm the Vice President. I'll just be here answering your questions as well.
Perfect. So if you guys have any questions after the fact, our emails are also listed here if you guys just want to take a quick picture. All of our information is also going to be on our website, which we'll make sure to get to you guys later. Let's get started. So some general Expo information this year. It's the 16th through 17th, so next week from Tuesday to Thursday, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So how this will work is chats technically start at 10 a.m., but we do encourage students to enter in early at 9 o'clock to see all the company booths. So companies will be putting opportunities that they have for you guys. If they have specific positions they're hiring for, they'll put them in that you can see and prepare for beforehand. Also, there's a feature on Brazen where you can leave a message to a rep. So you can just be like, hey, just wanting to stop by and say hello. I'm excited to talk to you later. Just whatever you want to do just to kind of get your head start. Some companies also may open a little bit earlier before 10. So if you are on the platform a little early, you'll be able to connect with them as soon as they open chat. And we'll talk a little bit more about how you're able to do that when I do the demo. Some changes this year is we are using Brazen like most of the schools at Tech. It's an amazing virtual platform. Hopefully you guys will love it. A bunch of new changes is that we won't be having volunteers. We normally have SEC Expo shirts, but we won't be having those this year. We might have something new, but just with everything going on, it's kind of hard to distribute and all that kind of stuff. For obvious reasons, we won't have bag check-in. We also won't have student check-in because Brazen allows us to monitor who comes in and out of the fair on our own platform. So you guys don't need to worry about that. As long as you register with the links, you're good to go. And another really, really big point is that we will not be running interviews this year. So normally for an expo, we do have interviews the day after. If my sound cuts out, let me know. Okay, all right. Sorry, we've just been having issues with my sound, which is why the AirPods are in today. But we won't be running interviews this year. So make sure that after you talk to a company, you ask them for either their contact information or how they're going to be running interviews, what platform they're going to be used and everything, like what time your interview will be for. If you guys talked about scheduling an interview, make sure you know all of that, because if you reach out to one of us after the fact, we will not know, and it will take us a while to try to help you figure out. But it will just be much faster if right after your chat, you can ask them. There's also a feature, and again, we'll talk about this on Brazen, where you can follow up. So if you realize in the midst of the conversation you were really stressed and you forgot to ask, you can always send in a little chat, just being like, hey, what's the interview policy going to look like this year? A couple of other overview information before we get into the actual demo. This will be one-to-one video or text chat. I know Handshake has also been a popular platform that has group sessions. We won't be allowing group sessions through Brazen. It's just one-to-one, so you and the recruiter. All chats will begin as text, and the representative will be the person who initiates the video chat. Your resumes will be automatically populated on the Brazen platform. So if you see on that little laptop screen on the bottom right-hand corner, this is from a representative perspective, their resume is automatically there. So you won't need to worry about giving it to them. They won't need to worry about asking it from you. As long as you insert your resume in the registration form when you register, you're good to go. There's a 10-minute limit per chat with each representative. This can be extended at the representative's discretion multiple times and for 5, 10, or 15 minutes. So however the conversation goes, the representative will choose to extend. There's something called Smart Queue, which we'll also talk about more in depth, but you'll be, if companies have specific requirements for the positions, you'll be able to answer those questions, and it'll sort you based on your credentials. It'll never tell you no, that you can't talk to a company though. Another cool feature is we will have live streaming for some of our companies on Brazen. I will be sending out little alerts on the bottom of the screen. So for example, I think Withers Ravenel and Hitachi ABB Power Grids are going to be having live streaming sessions. So those will be scheduled and you'll have all the information about that. And then the last thing that I mentioned before is that you'll be able to leave a note to a company either before you chat or also after you chat. So if you realize that you missed something, there's totally a chance for you to make sure that you contact them about that. And then 3 big things that I want to talk to you guys about technicalities wise. So everyone else is going to be presenting on more of the professional development stuff. I'm going to be focusing on Brazen technical stuff. 1, make sure you have a clean and quiet workspace on the day of the event. Try to have like a nice clean background, like as long as there's not too many distracting things behind you. Make sure to just tell your roommate, like, hey, just a heads up, I'm going to be at the fair for these hours. Can you just make sure to keep the noise down? Also make sure to check your devices beforehand. For example, my computer always does this thing where it makes me sound like deep fried basically. And so if you just make sure that your sound works good, your video works good and all that beforehand, so you don't waste any time that you have with the representative working on your technical issues. And then also make sure that you have good internet connection either in your house or on campus or something like that. If you have issues getting access to good quality Wi-Fi, or you need a good quiet place to access the fair, then please reach out to one of us and we can try to figure out some resources on campus or something to help you with that, because it's really important for your recruiting experience. And then, as you guys probably know, registration opened yesterday. One thing that's very, very, very important is use your VT login when you register, because of security issues and whatnot, we want to make sure that everyone that enters the fair is a VT student, either a current or past VT student. So just please use your VT email. It will allow you to use the LinkedIn or another Gmail account or your Facebook, I believe. Don't use those, just use your VT email. There are 3 separate links for each day of the fair. So make sure that you register for each day you attend. For example, if I just register for the 15th, that will not let me enter the 16th or 17th unless I complete my registration for both those days. You must confirm that you received confirmation for your registration. And then our registration is normally on the SEC Expo website, but this year it's going to be on Brazen. So if you guys haven't gotten the links, they should have been distributed by the college and by your departments. They're also going to be on our Instagram, which is SEC at VT. So you can check that out there as well. And then for the demo portion, so I will be pretending to be a student. Well, I am a student, but I will be walking through how that looks like. So as I mentioned before, you should receive a link to register for the event. This is a test event, so none of this stuff is gonna be like the actual fair. I just created a mock-up event just so you guys get the gist of it. How the page looks is it'll have our logo, the event information, and the times of the event. As you can tell, this event actually already started, but you can register even if the event starts in the middle of the event. You're like, maybe it's the Tuesday, the 15th, and it's like 4 o'clock, actually not 4 o'clock, like 12 o'clock, and you're like, wait, I wanna go to the fair real quick because I realize this company's coming. You can go ahead and register really quick and jump in. There's no worry about that. We have all of our information on who our exhibitors are going to be there, just our sponsors, and then a little about portion as well as a walkthrough of how the event works. And then if you have any questions or additional information, it's listed here as well. So when you enter the event, hopefully it didn't automatically, yep, okay. So again, register with your VT email. Here's my VT email. And then just go ahead. I already have an account, so I'm just going to be logging in. And then complete your registration form. You can edit all of this information after you submit your registration form. If you realize I put the wrong resume, or you realize right before you want to fix something in your resume, you can go ahead and fix that and reattach it. I'll show you how to do that later. But I'm just going to go ahead and fill this out. Let's just put some information. And then you can put your LinkedIn profile here, which I actually really like. I'm just going to put the LinkedIn website. So if you do learn some amazing tips from Ryan and make your LinkedIn look amazing, you can put it here and companies can connect with you there. You can also add a picture, which I think is a really cool feature. And then if you put your phone number here, I will not swarm you with text, but I will send you really important information. For example, if there's a live stream going on, I will also remind you, like if you registered for the event, to make sure you attend the event and things like that, because I know sometimes things slip. Or if for some reason there just has to be some emergency thing that I need to send out to you guys, I'll make sure to text it to you as well. So your resume is also required. The file types that you can add are there. I'm just going to pick a random resume that I have. Oops. And submit. All right, so it says welcome back because I've already gone through this. But once you enter, there will be a little video from the Student Engineers Council that will play that you can totally exit out of if you don't want to watch, but I think it'll be really informative. We'll have a couple of the deans giving you guys tips, which will be fun, and Tim Sands will be there. But you can see all the companies that are going to be at the event. There are way more for Expo, and honestly, it might be a little bit chaotic going through all of them. So one cool feature right here is that you can search for companies that are coming, and for example, if I'm looking for a specific company, I can look it up here and it'll automatically show up. So I don't have to worry about scrolling through so many different companies. Another cool thing is, say I want to talk to all 3 of these companies, I can literally go in and put myself in line for all 3 of these companies. One thing here though, as you can see, the SEC has something where it says additional info is needed. Please enter the booth and click chat to get started. So this one I cannot automatically do from here because they're gonna ask me some smart Q questions. They're gonna ask me some specifically catered questions for any positions I'm looking for. So these 2 I'm able to just click from here and I can do that. I'm not going to chat with anyone here. So I'm gonna exit out of that. One thing I actually really think is cool for you guys is there's an advanced search, which a lot of companies are putting tags in their booths. So if they're looking for a certain experience level, if they're looking for a specific security clearance, also for international students, you guys can put here, they'll put, companies will put if they're hiring for you guys. Not all companies are putting this information, but it will help you kind of filter through this information. So another cool thing is our Expo website, if you haven't gone on there already, also has that ability for you to filter through all that stuff to kind of prep beforehand. So this is what the lobby will look like. I'm going to pretend to go to a chat. For example, I want to talk to the Student Engineers Council. I could see some information here. This is an old picture, but because of COVID, we can't get a new picture, sadly. I can see any opportunities they have listed. So for example, there's 2 positions here, and I can click on them. These will take me to a different website, so I'm not going to click on them because they're not actually positions, but companies will link actual position information here. And then also an About Us is here as well. So what we can do is I decide I want to chat with a rep. So I'm going to click chat. And then I don't qualify for this position. I'm a biomedical engineering student with a focus in neuroscience. So the neurotechnology engineering intern is totally my thing. It's going to ask me 2 questions. Are you currently enrolled in a biomedical engineering or equivalent degree program? Yes. And my intended graduation is the spring of 2022. If you answer no to these questions, again, it will not tell you that you cannot connect with a representative. It will still put you in line. You just won't be higher up on the line. So I will get in line. Oh, and I'm automatically connected with a rep. So Anthony Mr. Kelly is my rep. You can see some information here. He didn't put anything on his location. Some of them might also put their LinkedIn profile here. So all that stuff will automatically populate. And now he's asking me, how am I doing today? So we can have a conversation here. It's totally up to the rep. Okay, he asked to video chat. So it says here, Anthony has invited you to video chat. Accepting this will automatically start a video. So I'm going to accept. And I'm not going to allow this for right now, but it will show me here. Our text chat still continues here. And then if we decide, oh, let me actually talk about these things on the side. Here, it will show you how your connection's going. So if you have bad connection, it'll show. If you have good connection, it'll show, which I think is really nice. We only have 1 active chat going on right now. And then another cool thing is you can add an automatic greeting for all of your chats with a rep. So for example, if I want every single time I connect with a rep to put an automatic greeting saying hello, then you can put that in here. And it has this cool, these like little placeholders, kind of like when you do a mail merge, you can put it so that their name will automatically populate there. I think that's really cool. And then information on my smart queue questions are out there. And then if we decide to close the chat, either I can close the chat if you decide you want to close the chat, or Tony might decide he wants to close the chat. Either way, we'll end the chat here. And this is what I was talking about before. If I have anything that I forgot to mention, I forgot to ask them about how their interview process is going to look like or anything like that, I can go ahead and add a little note here that'll be sent to Anthony. And then I can also rate them how our experience was, and then add any notes. If I want to just be like, oh my God, this was a really cool company. I really like this. They have this position, and I just want to make sure all of that's there. So you don't even worry about having like a piece of paper with you, because it'll all be on here. And then click finished when you're done. And then if at the end you're like, wait, what were we just talking about? What did Anthony mention about that one position? I can see my history of chats and my transcript of my chat with him here, as well as an overview of the company as well, right there. So that's all of that. And then registration-wise, again, as I said, you can edit anything here. So for example, I put, are you willing to relocate? And I said no, and then all of a sudden I wanted to be like yes, or vice versa. I can switch that. I can add in a new resume if I want, as long as it's one of these file types. and change anything here. So make sure to save everything. And then this will show you your profile, your password information. If you have any help, need any help the day of, there's two resources you have. You can either use this resource right here, which will connect you with a Brazen IT person, or you can, there will actually be an SEC booth at this exact location, except our team will be there helping you guys and connecting with you guys to answer any questions. So if the day of you have an issue with a company or you have an issue with your connection, mainly not really technical, I would refer you to ask technical questions to Brazen because they could be with more assistance. But if you have any other information like companies and stuff like that, feel free to connect with one of us there and we will try to get that sorted for you guys. And then this other cool feature, if, for example, I decide to step away because I want to go grab a snack, or I don't know, I just want to take a water break or something, I can just toggle my chat availability as off and I won't automatically be connected with anyone if I'm waiting in a queue. So that's all I have. You can connect with as many reps on Brazen, as many different companies as you'd like. There's no limit. So definitely recommend to talk to a lot of companies because there will be a lot there for you guys. And I will pass it on now to MassApply, Naman, and Sana. Welcome. You guys can just screen share. Yep.
Hey guys, how's it going? So I'm Naman from MassApply, and we've been working on a tool to, I guess, supplement your overall application process. And, you know, because everything's going online, make that whole process a little bit easier. And one major thing we're focusing on is making it a lot easier for all of you to apply to the relevant positions you're looking for. So what we've done is we've accumulated all of the, we've looked into the companies that are coming to Expo and found all the job links and the applications that are open for them so that you can easily find them based on your major and add them to your dashboard where you can directly apply and do a lot of other things. So you can see that you can choose your major and what type of role you're looking for. And through, once you're adding roles to your dashboard, you'll be able to do a fair amount of research about the company. So for example, I've already added a couple of companies to my dashboard that I'm interested in. And with this, I can learn about the company a little bit, click directly into them. And also, we have all of the direct application links ready for you guys. So you can easily go in and apply directly to the roles. And then also track your status with these companies to make sure that you know where you are in each of the processes with each application and company. And you can also take notes for yourself just to remember, I guess in coordination with Brazen, if you were to talk to a recruiter or you're trying to keep track of when you have an interview. This is a general tool to help you stay organized and proactive in the job search. And I think one thing that's generally recommended is for at least the companies you're most interested in to apply beforehand so that you're already in their system so that they can follow up with you for a potential next round. So we highly recommend that you use our tool to add the companies you're interested in, apply, and make sure you're following up. And yeah, we hope this will add like a nice supplement and also save you some time trying to find a lot of the applications. And we'll be here for questions at the end. Thanks.
One last thing to add, we're gonna have a tab on there with some key questions that will help you stand out and have a conversation with recruiters past what they're asking. And we strongly, strongly recommend that you guys check that out because given the virtual format, anything you can do to stand out will help you attain that first interview. And that's the whole higher level goal of MassApply.
Thank you guys for that. I think you guys should definitely take advantage of MassApply because at least I know for me, when I have all the different companies that I want to talk to, just preparing for them. Also, since it is catered for Expo, all the Expo companies will be there. So it's just automatically all there. You won't even need to worry about, even like they have this really cool feature where you can like add notes and stuff like that. So I don't even need to worry about having like a tablet of information or like keeping random sticky notes. So definitely check that out. We're now gonna break for the first session of Q&A. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and add them in the Q&A box, and then Shivani, you can go ahead and read them to me.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just one question that I think we need a little bit more clarity on, and that's if I'm in the line for more than one company, and for example, a company becomes available for me while I'm talking to someone else, what would happen then? Would I lose my spot with the company? Would I stay in line with the company but be pushed back in the line?
All right, so how that'll work, and yeah, I even had like a little bit of confusion when I heard about that. You can wait in multiple lines, but how it works is you'll automatically set all the companies you want to wait in line for, and then whoever is the first person to be available for you will automatically connect you guys. And then once your chat ends, you will still keep your place in all of the lines. But say, for example, I'm in the SEC's booth, and then I have this other company, or I'm in the SEC, I'm talking to a rep from the SEC, and I'm also in line at this other company. Once that chat ends, I will just wait until either that company rep is available, or if not, I can just like go to another line and wait in their line. Or I don't really know how to explain this the best way. Basically, you will not lose your place in line. You will just always be put in whatever place you are, and then whoever is available first after you guys are done doing your chats, you guys will automatically connect. So Brazen automatically makes a queue for both you and for the rep. So whenever they align, and it's not like it's going to make your waiting time longer or anything like that. It'll optimize the time so you guys connect automatically. I hope that answers your question.
Oh yeah, and just to clarify, I'm seeing a few questions about MassApply. So the Expo specific site hasn't been out yet, but you'll probably be linked to that in, I assume, like a follow-up email through from SEC. So yeah, just that should probably be out soon. Yeah.
So I'm assuming that takes care of the MassApply sorting the jobs by major, because that will be available to you guys with the Expo specific site.
Right.
So I'm gonna skip that question. Thank you. So this person says, I've never been to Expo. How do we know we obtained an interview? Will the company be very clear / explicit?
Yeah, so all the companies are directed to be very clear on how to schedule for their interview process. They will tell you at the end all the information on the interview process. Again, if at the end, either make it a thing, at least especially now with this virtual recruiting process, to ask questions about what their interview process will be like, especially if they bring up the possibility of an interview. I would ask them those questions. And then also, if at the end you don't get clarity on that and you still want to follow up, you have the ability to follow up with them. And I encourage you to do that in that little text chat feature.
Our next question is, I've never been to Expo. How do we know we obtained an interview? Oh, that was the question I just read. Excuse me. I'll dismiss that one. Do you recommend that freshmen apply for co-ops?
Totally, that's totally up to you. So it really depends on what your schedule looks like. What I really recommend is making one of those 4-year plans when you get to college, because I've made like 50 of those, but they help you figure out how your semesters are going to look. So maybe if you do want to push off a semester, how that will look like, how that'll affect your classes, because some classes are specific for a semester. Just make sure to check in on those. It really is just a personal preference of whether you want to do a co-op. There are so many benefits to doing a co-op. There's also, do you want to take an extra semester or an extra year? So they're all things to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last question in the chat is, since many students are expected to be on Brazen and using campus internet, has this been made aware to the IT department so that there will be no issues with the Wi-Fi connectivity that the campus has seen in the recent weeks?
Yeah, so the IT department, if not already, will be made aware. They do know that we have, so everyone at the school knows when all of our career fairs in, they're all set in schedule. The one thing is, with things like this, it's really hard to control how the server is gonna, and like, obviously I feel like the school has been like, yes, we're preparing for the fact that majority of students are gonna be virtual, but obviously we're still having issues. So I would really, really highly recommend to try to figure out a backup plan if possible. I know that's not really possible if you do expect to be on campus, but I will make a note to reach out to the IT department to make sure that that is sorted for you guys.
And we have another question here that says, for companies coming on multiple days, are they going to allocate interview slots only for the final day or along as Expo goes on?
That is totally up to a company. So some of them might decide that they are going to just give out all their interviews on whatever day, like whatever they just like the first day that they're there. Some of them may decide that they only want to give a certain amount on certain days. The cool thing is, since companies can schedule their interviews on their own time, they aren't limited to either that like 1 day of interview or 2 days of interviews on our campus. They can, if they decide for some reason they fill a slot they expected to have, they can probably just have more. So that is a variable answer. Some companies may allocate on each day or a final day or the first day. It really depends.
So our next question says, what should one do if Brazen experiences the similar crashes as Canvas did the first day of classes?
So if we do experience a technical issue on Brazen, we will notify you guys about that. And we do have a backup plan using Zoom in the case that Brazen doesn't work. Brazen has been running a lot of fairs already, so we trust that it'll be fine and everything will run smoothly, but obviously things happen. So we do have a backup plan for utilizing Zoom in the case that Brazen does crash.
Hey, sorry, I just wanted to add real quick. We actually do have the SEC specific site live. I just verified that it's up. So I'll link that in the chat, but it's massapply.com/VT Engineering Expo. And yeah, you can go in right now and start adding applications and applying.
Awesome, thank you, Naman. And our next question is, how many days do you recommend us signing up for?
Okay, so some companies are coming only on specific days. For example, one company may come only Tuesday, one company may come Tuesday, Thursday, one company may come only Wednesday. It really depends on the company's schedule and what they're able to attend. So I really highly recommend that you actually go on the Expo website. If someone could send that in the chat, that would be great. Go on the student site and then click on the company list, and you'll be able to see what companies are coming on which days and who is hiring for your major, for your credentials and stuff like that. So you can kind of make a list to plan for which days you should attend. And as I mentioned before, if you realize you actually do want to come on Wednesday, but you didn't register beforehand, you can register while the event is live.
The next question is, how many companies do you recommend we talk to, and how many should I do in-depth research for?
Okay, so I recommend you do in-depth research for all the companies that you want to talk to, because it really sets you apart if you are able to bring up information on how the company works, or a cool project that they did, or just anything. It helps really drive the conversation, so you're not both just standing there like, hi, talking about something else. It also shows the company that you're very interested. So if you do have the time, do research on the company. If you don't have as much time, definitely the ones that you really, really, really have an eye on, make sure you have information on them. There was another part to that question. Was it how many companies you recommend talking to, right? Okay, yeah. They might talk about this a little later, but my biggest tip is talk to as many companies as you can and save your favorite companies for the end. So if you have like your top 5, pick another 5 that you could also just go talk to, get the nerves out, just have a conversation with them. And then, you know, just get yourself situated, figure out what you want that intro chat to be, figure out what things about your resume you want to highlight, and then kind of do that a couple times. And we'll also talk about elevator pitches. Molly will talk about that so you guys can figure out, get that all set out so that you don't like stutter when you say it, and then go to those top companies and give it there. So as many as you can, highly, highly recommend.
That looks like all the questions we have so far.
All right, perfect. I put my email on the first slide. If you guys didn't get it, I will send it in the chat so you guys can send me any questions. I am happy to answer any of them. So yeah, I will pass it on now. Thank you.
Hello, you all. I am Anthony Mistichelli, and I'm going to do the resume overview slides. It's like 7 slides. It's not too much. So a little bit about me. I have just compiled a list of rules that I live by for things like resumes and interviews and whatnot. And these basic rules and tricks, they might be, you know, mildly controversial of like, should I do that? Should I not? It's just what has worked for me in the past. It's what recruiters have told me they liked, and also feedback I've gotten from managers and professors and different people in the industry. So it's not a catch-all for everyone, but I do think that if you follow the structure, it's going to be different and it's going to be good. So to start, I could go over every tidbit and thing that you should have on your resume, but if you're looking for a basic skeleton of where you start because you're a freshman and you've never had a resume before, this is a great resource from College and Career Services or something like that. There's a QR code there, but you can just look at the VT Career Services website, and it's a great checklist. I would take a screen grab of this slide and just go down the list and almost make your resume look like this checklist, but then fill in the points. And today I'll try to highlight really well header, education, experience, and skills. But yeah, please grab this and then grab the website if you need as well. So to start, for what I'm going to go over, I'm going to go over my key points. The 3 big takeaways I want to get out of this presentation is that your resume doesn't exist if there's not a job rec number that you're applying with that resume for. Those 2 go hand in hand. So I'm going to try to highlight the importance of, I call it a rec number, but it's just a specific job or opportunity that you find on a company website. You have to differentiate yourself. That's the second key point. And the third key point is that a good engineer and a bad engineer are not determined from GPA or anything like that. They're just determined by passion. And so if you can tailor one piece of paper to show your passion, then you will get the job every time. Well, not every time, but you'll get the job. So to start, this is basically what I've been told how a recruiter is going to scan your resume, and it's the F format. So your top 2 things, they're gonna skim the words, but a recruiter is really only giving you 10 to 15 seconds. If you're at a career fair, maybe 10 to 30 seconds, where they're gonna actually read what's on your resume. So when you're looking at what you highlight and how you format your resume, you should have clear breaks, clear spacing. Things should be highlighted for the recruiter, but you should be very conscious of how they're going about reading your resume. So the F format is the top 2 lines over, they might give a skim and then they'll go down and they'll read the heading. So for this resume, and this is my example resume of what a good resume is, they're gonna read my full name, obviously, that's just in the first half of a second. And then they're gonna go through my education, they'll see my GPA, they'll see my rank, they'll see graduation, they'll see major. They'll probably stick with those, they'll keep my school. They'll go to my first experience, they'll find the buzzwords that are in there, they'll probably read that I supported a design in agile development, they'll probably read something about hardware bays and machine learning, and then they'll move on and they'll go down the list and look at the different headings. So they'll know the last 2 summers of places I worked, my undergraduate research, the SEC stuff, different projects, but that's all they're taking from it. And then hopefully they see that I have some programming skills. So for a full page of writing, that's all they're gonna take in that 10 to 15 seconds. So please, when you make your resume and format it, be conscious of the F format, and that's how their eyes are moving. So the next thing is professional language. So I hope there's no problems in my example. No, you're good. So there's no sentences. You should not have sentences. You should not have paragraphs. I feel like that's pretty obvious, but something I want to highlight is your big words. I don't think that recruiters are necessarily looking for your professional words like superfluous or whatever long words you can come up with to make yourself sound smart. They're more looking for words when you describe what you've done to show ownership, authorship, independence, collaboration, and responsibility. They want to see that you are not a student, but you're a person who's ready for industry. You know, you're a person who takes responsibility onto themselves and gets the job done. They own certain projects, and they've proven from their past that they can succeed in the future. So I want to talk about what this example has. And so something that I have here is parallel structure. Every time that I write what I've done in an experience, I use the parallel structure of, I start my sentence with a verb in the past tense. They say use present, they say use past. I think for internships, it makes more sense to use past because they're so temporary, but it really, I don't think it, no one's disqualifying you for a job based on your tense, in my opinion. But I'll use a verb in a past tense, and it'll be a verb that shows something like ownership or independence or collaboration, or that I took on responsibility. And then I'll talk about what I did. And so it's very structured of verb and then some words of what I did, verb and words I did, and verbs and words I did. And then the last thing is when I am talking about, so for this first job experience, it's a lot of different computer science, programming, and system engineering type responsibilities that I took on. Well, if I was going to apply for a systems engineering job, I would look at that job rec, look at that description and say, what can I highlight from the time that I was this intern and put those on my resume that's going to work for this job description. And if there is no job description, you're submitting your resume to Brazen, you should make sure that your bullets are versatile. No one really cares if you worked on this specific point of code in this specific project that's so specific to this certain thing. They care more about that you worked in a Scrum team or you worked in agile development, something like that. Your experience thing should be able to be applied to other projects and not super specific. The last point is, can there be acronyms on your resume? And beyond the basic acronyms, like what I have, AI, ML, TCL, different like languages and acronyms like that, that's all fine because everyone knows what AI and ML is. The acronyms you should be scared about is something like FARS, is I have something later on my resume, no one knows what that is, and so I'm not going to put that acronym on my resume. But if an acronym is in the job rec and in the job description, then you can use that acronym on your resume, save space, clean it up a little bit, because they already should know what that is. So I think that's all I had on professional language. A quick little tidbit, something that I do is, if you do end up scoring an internship, if you have scored an internship and you're going for one next summer, resumes are so much easier to write if every day at the end of your internship, or at least at the end of the week, you wrote down every small thing you did. Because when I'm looking to tailor my resume to a specific job rec, I go back to my spiral, I go back to my journal, I go back to my legal pad, and I check what I did every single day and say, oh, well, that could apply to this job rec. And I can make a very tailored and directed resume for the job rec. I make myself basically the perfect candidate without being the perfect candidate. So next thing, the 3 most important sections on your resume, and something that I learned very recently. Education experience, that's very obvious, most important thing. Skills is something that I'm going to cover because that's very, very important for job recs and recruiting that I never realized. But to start with education, I am on the boat, and it's a little controversial, that you should not have high school on your resume, even if you're a freshman. Because if you're a freshman, you theoretically should have high school because they want to know about your past academics or what have you. But at the same time, you're competing against sophomores, you're competing against juniors. And so having high school, I feel like, if you have a blank resume, put it on there, but it doesn't help you at all. And if I were hiring someone, I would rather hire the freshman that looks like they're ready for college, ready for industry, and they've got their stuff together and they have a very professional, tailored resume, over the person stuck in high school, because there's just such a big difference between high school and college. My last notes on this, put Bachelor of Science, write it out. It just catches eyes, it's easier to find. Write out VT, or you can do the Polytechnic Institute, doesn't matter. Graduation year is so important. Graduation year is more important than putting your year. Year is like, oh, well, I'm a freshman with 80 credits, so I can say I'm a junior by credits. That's all BS, sorry. Put your graduation year, that's what matters, and you should be putting spring, May 2022, or fall, or winter, or whenever you're graduating. GPA is a must. I do not think you can get away with just putting in major GPA and thinking that'll slide. Some of these bullets that I'm having here is I'm trying to show that you shouldn't disqualify yourself for a job, right? And so if a recruiter says, I need to check these 5 things off your resume, and one of them is GPA and not a major GPA, and you put a major GPA, you have disqualified yourself. Recruiters are not going to want to reach out to you if they have 1,000 resumes to sort through. So don't disqualify yourself in major, not in major, put them both, but do not leave out the out of major GPA. And then interest in coursework is something that I have is acceptable fluff. If you have a really clean or empty resume, you can try to direct your passion in life and engineering by having an interest section. What are my professional interests? My professional interests are in high-speed unmanned aerial vehicles. I can put that line on my resume. It tailors me. It makes me seem very passionate, and it adds a line. It makes my resume look more filled out. Experience matters more than GPA. Everyone knows that. It matters more than education. Experience is what you need to highlight. By far the most important. Make sure you don't pass up, and I talked a little bit about this on the last slide, so I'll go fast on this one. Make sure you don't pass up soft skills, because something I'll talk about, I think on the next slide, is you have to differentiate yourself. Everyone coming out of Virginia, you're going to a career fair with Virginia Tech engineers, competing against Virginia Tech engineers. Everyone comes out with virtually the same technical skills that they don't earn from their job experiences. So you don't want to go to a recruiter and be like, hey, I'm just like the last 50 people you talk to. So highlight those soft skills, you know? Make it versatile, and I talked about this with the words earlier. Show your work ethic, show your achievements. If you are able to get an achievement in your summer, that's huge. It needs to be in there, like an award, some sort of profile, what have you. Skills. Skills is, in my opinion, from what I've heard about recruiting, skills is the most important thing on your resume to make sure you make it past the first round of recruiting. And so, not to get the job, but to make it past the first round. So if you see that there's 10 skills in this rec number, and you're only putting 3 of those skills, and you don't feel like changing your resume, that's a problem. You need to put every skill that is applicable to you or mildly applicable to you that's in that job rec on that resume, because you have that skill. The next thing is relevant coursework is an interesting section on what people put on resumes. I think it's kind of a waste of space. I think that people know, you know, with your degree, what kind of courses you're taking. What I think is important though, on my resume, when I think of dynamics, but those are skills. Those are not courses I took. I mean, they are courses I took, but those are then skills that I developed from those courses. So I believe that you can put the name or major themes of courses you took in your skills section, because that's just a more professional way to go about it. Because we're trying to market ourselves as someone who's ready for industry, not someone stuck in high school or college. And then make sure your skills are organized. So if we go back to this, if you can see the bottom, I don't just have a list of skills. I have very organized with heading skills. And that's what I was talking about earlier with, I put statics, dynamics, structures, circuits, things like that. I took a course on it. I put it on there as a skill. It's no longer a course, right? So then last, the Eyecatcher. This is not last. The Eyecatcher is something that I haven't not learned about till this summer, but you only have 5 to 10 seconds if you're applying online or talking to a recruiter for them to know that they want you. They want to finish, they want to look into you more. And so something that can be an Eyecatcher is programming languages, GPA. If you have a clearance, put it on your resume. If you have a clearance and it is not, and like I said, if it is not in the first line, you're playing yourself. You need to have that be the first line, period. It is the Eyecatcher. They look at this resume, they see that first line, and they're finishing to read my resume. But you need to have the Eyecatcher that will get the recruiter hooked on you. And so in this section, I want to talk about, so if you have 5 to 10 seconds, they will read a 2-line, maybe 3-line summary about you. I don't believe in the objective. If you're going to Expo and you're going, especially with Brazen, with all the information you fill out, and you have an objective on your resume, you've lost about 1/8 of the real estate on that piece of paper, and they already know what you're there for. You're there for an internship, you're there for a job. Why are you putting that on your resume? That's a waste of time. But a summary can be completely different. A summary can highlight your skills, highlight your passion, highlight what makes you different. And that can be you know, I am so-and-so, and I have spent this long of my life being inspired to do this, and I have these programming languages for this job. That's all. That's a summary, 2 lines. That was a terrible example, but you know what I'm saying. You just have to make it, make yourself different in those 2 lines, but don't put objective. That's a waste of space. So the last slide, or not the last slide, but the most important slide is differentiating yourself. And I think it's very important that you have the mindset when you go into any recruiting thing that you are not special, but you can be. And that's the mindset that I try to hold always when I'm doing anything, is that like, you're going up against, like I said, 50 people at Virginia Tech who have virtually, if you think you have a 4.0 GPA and that makes you really special, I guarantee you there's 3 other kids in your major at least that do, and then there's 50 other kids at the other state universities down the East Coast, you know? So you have to differentiate yourself based on certain things, and certain things you can connect to the job or the recruiter. And so I've in huge writing directed passion, right? So my directed passion currently in my textbook life is systems engineering and the idea of components of systems integrating with software and what have you. And so you can go down my resume and you can see that nearly every single bullet, and defense contracting, every single bullet has something to do and ties back to system engineering and ties back to defense contracting and ties back to supporting the military through engineering, technology, what have you. And so it's so important that when you go down every bullet of your resume, and if you're looking about whether or not my resume is good, go down each bullet past education and say, is this a bullet that you would see on someone else's resume, or is it different? Is it something that a recruiter is actually going to think about, or is it something they've seen 80 times today? And so that's just the most important thing is, am I different, and does it show my passion, right? So I'm going, full send, if you will, in one direction, and that's what's going to get me the job, because no one wants someone who wants 50% of the job. They want someone who wants 100% of the job and who's eager to work. Other things on your resume that can differentiate yourself that I do support is having unique experiences. Like if you had a very unique internship in like finance, and you could highlight that because that's different. Volunteering, hobbies. Hobbies are interesting because you can connect with hobbies with recruiters. Oh my God, you crocheted, I crocheted. How cool is that? What have you. Extracurriculars are important. And then your soft skills can also make you different. And then the extended resume question mark I have down there, because I am a strong supporter of, for a career fair, you have a one-page resume, but if you connect with the recruiter, you have a three-page resume in your back pocket that you're ready to email them, that you're ready to show them, that goes more in depth into your projects, into your technical skills, into your abilities, and what have you. And I think that the extended resume play at the end of talking to a recruiter can very much help you nail the job and not just make the connection. So the last thing I want to go over, and this is another thing to screenshot, is things you would think would be okay but are not. Clutter, filling your resume with black text because you think that having more words makes you look better. Underlines and bolding things, not in headings but throughout the thing, is a problem. It makes recruiters feel stupid. That's what I've heard. Not including basic skills. If a rec number has MS Office, Microsoft Suite, Microsoft Word, I don't care if you know C++, Java, what have you, and you think that it would be assumed you also know how to use Microsoft Word. If it's in the job rec and you know how to do it, it should be on your resume, because that is something that could disqualify you. And recruiters are not going to want to email you and be like, by the way, do you know Microsoft Word? That's a waste of their time, and so you don't want to disqualify yourself like that. Course numbers, like putting AOE 30, 33, something like that, if you decide to put relative coursework, is a waste of time. Just putting state and city. So that's another disqualifier that you don't want to do. If you put in your heading, your address, and you just put Blacksburg, Virginia, all of a sudden the recruiter needs to send you something through mail. That's the way they're doing something for some reason. And you have just disqualified yourself by not just typing out 4 letters and a street address. So it's just worth it to put that. Don't have any color, style, or headshots for engineers. If you're not going for an engineering position, that's completely different. But for engineers, you don't need color. You don't need icons. You don't need, weird columns that highlight things down the side. You just don't need all of it. It just, be very formatted. Don't omit a bad GPA because you don't want to disqualify yourself. Objectives, you don't need it. I did that. Full sentences I covered. Being untailored is what I'm saying is that don't have a basic resume. A resume does not exist if you aren't applying for a specific job description. I don't think that you should have social clubs without leadership unless it's in like a hobby section and very small on your resume. Excessive capitalizations are super annoying to look at. And then don't be too specific. Make sure you're very versatile. And then another thing is, if you have some sort of experience, some sort of campus involvement, and you're explaining what the club's doing and you don't mention at all what you've done, then that's just another waste of real estate on your resume. And I think that's all. So that's all I wanted to cover. There's probably a lot of questions. I went pretty fast, but I will pass it. And Miriam, actually, am I doing questions now? If there's questions, or am I passing it to Molly?
You're passing it.
All right, pass it to Molly.
Thank you, Tony.
Yep.
Yeah, at the end of all 3 of the presentations, we'll have a Q&A, and then after all those, we'll each have a breakout room to specifically talk about LinkedIn resumes or elevator pitches. But I'm just going to be talking to you guys about elevator pitches, especially in today's virtual age. We're going to be looking at how you can stand out in making an elevator pitch, especially on Brazen. So we touched about it earlier, and Miriam talked about it, but you really want to make sure that you're doing your homework. So you want to go to this page on our website. The link is in the right-hand corner, and you want to put in all of your information. And that list on the side is going to get smaller, and it's going to tell you companies that are looking for students exactly like you. And you're going to want to make sure that you put in the days you can attend, and then you're going to click on those companies and you're going to start doing your in-depth research. So earlier it asked like how many companies I should look up, how many I should talk to. I would start with that list and see, okay, maybe there's 20 companies there that I match up with. let's see that maybe I really sort of vibe towards 10 of them and then specify 5 that you really like. So what you want to start with is their background. So what have they worked on? What are they working now? And their different sort of like management positions, their different maybe sources of retail, anything like that. But another specific thing that can make you stand out is looking at the culture of the company. So going on these websites and looking if they have these links like pictured here, their Facebook, their Twitter, their LinkedIn, or any other social medias, it can show you what they're doing outside of work hours sometimes. So maybe they're a really social or community service-based company. That can really make you stand out if you go up and you talk to them about some service you've done or maybe some projects that they've been involved in, because you could catch the right recruiter that is directly involved with one of those service events and really make yourself stand out in their eyes because they want to talk to you more about those types of things rather than manufacturing processes lines. Another type of thing that you can really hone in on is looking at those locations and available jobs. So MassApply can really help with that. It's looking at specific positions that are available to you that you can tailor yourself for. And like Tony was talking about, making your resume sort of stand out in specific areas for different jobs. So you want to be able to walk up to a recruiter and say, hi, I'm interested in your manufacturing management position in Pennsylvania or your facilities position in Virginia. You want to be able to say exactly where you're interested in, and it'll then show the recruiter that you're looking for something specific and you've done your research. So after you've done your research, you want to make sure that you're ready to build your speech. So when you're building that speech, you want to make sure that you're first looking at your highlights. So Tony kind of talked about that. If you don't have something desirable to share, don't share it. So if you don't have the strongest GPA, if you aren't in a ton of leadership roles, if you haven't had any experience yet, maybe you're a freshman, you're worried about that type of things, you need to show the things that you are super proud of, the things that you're really confident in and you know that you'll be able to talk about. So that's those leadership roles. Maybe that is something that you're the president of, you're the treasurer on an executive board, you do have that super strong GPA, or you're in a lot of classes that you're super proud of. Maybe they're looking for sophomores, but you've taken some of those junior level classes and you're able to offer a little bit more. And you've looked at those specific positions and you're interested in a facilities job. Say that you have relevant experience in a specific facilities management position, maybe during a paper or group project, anything like that. You want to be able to note those so that you can kind of meander those into your speech, which is the next part of connections. So this is where you use the research that you did, but you naturally place it into the conversation that you're having, because that's what you are having. You wanting to say something and have them respond back. So you want to be able to say, I was looking at your positions and I saw that you had a facilities management job in Virginia. I actually worked on a paper recently about XYZ and it was really interesting because XYZ, and you're just placing yourself in there. Or your connection could be, I was looking on your social media and I saw that you guys had a hiking club. I go hiking almost every other weekend. And I saw that that was really interesting, because the whole point of making a connection with a recruiter is that you aren't a student standing or sitting in front of them on their computer. They're picturing you in their workplace, next to them, in their teams, working alongside them, and not just someone outside of the company, but really finding a way to get yourself in there and in their eyes, in their company. So the next part of that is the attitude that you display when you're going about this. So like I said, you want to talk about things that you're confident in yourself. You might be timid, you might be nervous about this process, especially with it being online. And like Miriam said, you do want to kind of get those jitters out with those first elevator pitches with other companies. But the biggest thing is you want to talk about information that you're confident on. If you are talking about it, that is going to spill into the interview itself, because you're going to have things that you want to share, not just things that you're kind of scared of. So that GPA, if you know you're excluding it, it's going to make you feel 100 times better than having to get past that in that conversation. So another really important thing is being engaged and responsive, not only when you're talking, but when they're talking most especially. So when you're done with your elevator pitch and they're responding to you, you want to be able to actually respond to what they're saying and not just talk more about yourself. If they're asking you a specific question, it's to answer the specific question. Like they do these all day, and if they're asking you a question, it's because they want you to answer it, and it's because they want a direct answer. So you want to make sure you're staying engaged and really responsive. And the last part, let's say you did a great elevator pitch, you had a great conversation with them, but they answered all your questions about maybe their manufacturing processes line or that specific job that you were going for. This is the time where you could bring up those other questions such as culture. So maybe they don't have any social media. You could say, oh, I was wondering if you could tell me like about your social atmosphere at your job. Do you guys do anything outside of work? Do you have any like clubs or meetups for any like hiking or anything outside? Maybe they have days that they bring in food, anything that, again, that can put you into their eyes, into the workplace. Again, with assessment, you can ask, so if I do get this co-op, when am I assessed? Do I have a bi-weekly meeting with the supervisor? Do I have a monthly presentation to a board of whoever? That kind of, again, gets you into the mindset of you actually getting the job and also them. So they're thinking about you being in that workplace and you being assessed. Or if it comes down to it, they're an employee and they're also a person, ask them what some of their ongoing projects are. So say, what are you working on right now? What about it do you enjoy? Or maybe what were you working on that has kept you with the company for so long? So kind of putting that all together, you want to make sure that you kind of list these out. It depends on how you are as a person. Like I would do bullet points and then kind of just weave them all together. But you want to practice this in front of a mirror, in front of a friend. You can record yourself and watch it back. That can be really helpful. But when it comes down to it, it's going to be something like, hi, my name is Molly Zudema. I'm a junior in Industrial and Systems Engineering at Virginia Tech. I work with the SEC as the Awards and Scholarships Chair. I do XYZ. I also work with the YMCA. I'm the president there, XYZ. I also have been the team leader on a number of projects in Industrial and Systems Engineering, specifically in manufacturing processes, XYZ. And then something about, I'm really interested in your manufacturing processes role in Virginia. And I actually noticed that at your branch, you guys have a really active cooking club. I love cooking, I always have. And I think that's something really important to connect with my coworkers. And then that's gonna branch into either a conversation about something personal, or they're gonna find something that you just said and they're gonna latch onto that. Rather than you just saying it to them and then them having to come up with something, you've just given them 3 to 5 things that they can just immediately grab onto and start talking about. Now, going into navigating online recruitment, some things are different. You aren't walking around in the big room, you're not waiting in lines physically, but as Miriam said, you're putting yourself in those queues and you're kind of looking around for what you really can look for. So the biggest thing is how you're gonna look on the video chat if you have it. So your appearance still needs to be really strong. You still need to be dressing for success. And please note, you do need to wear professional from top to bottom. You do need to wear pants at all. And you do need to wear pants that aren't sweatpants, that aren't biker shorts, that aren't Nike shorts. You need to wear your slacks, you need to wear your skirt, your dresses, anything like that, because there are instances from my peers I've heard that they have asked people to stand up during interviews to make sure that they are dressed properly, because in their minds, if you can't dress properly, then you don't have enough interest to even get dressed. Then why are you gonna have enough interest to be working for the company? Stuff like that. So just please wear pants. Additionally, your posture, your lighting, and your background. Miriam talked about kind of like a blank canvas background or something that's just neat and tidy. If you need to do it in a space outside of your dorm room, outside of your apartment, you just need to go somewhere where you have good lighting, where people can see your face. Miriam also noted about how you want to check your devices. That's a really big part of it. You want to make sure that your audio and your video are working and have as strong of a connection as you possibly can. We know that that might run into issues, but you just want to make sure that your roommate isn't walking around in the background, changing or, getting back from class. You want to make sure that your roommates aren't cooking dinner in the background or screaming. You just want to make sure you look professional as you can, make sure your posture is great, and make sure that you look as ready as you can be in these kind of different circumstances that we're not used to. And lastly, after that pitch, after that conversation, you do want to be direct. You want to ask for an email, you want to ask for a number, some way to talk to them. If they do start talking to you about an interview, great. Also be direct with that. Ask them about times, ask them about processes. Again, they are doing this maybe hundreds of times that day. You want to make sure that you have all the information, because even if the conversation went 100% correct, they still have the chance of forgetting that it even happened. So you want to be able to reach out to them. You want to make sure that they remember you. And if they do tell you to apply online, I know that that has kind of a stigma of being bad. It is not always a bad thing. Even if they are doing all suggested or like by resume recruiting, they could still be collecting online information if they're not collecting it through Brazen. So make sure that if you are applying online, use MassApply, do it ahead of time. Even if you do it ahead of time, you can say, I've already applied online, and make sure that they do. Make sure you know that you did it. and because they can always put a star on your resume and look you up later. That's all I have for now, but if you'd like to come practice an elevator pitch or have any questions, I will put a Zoom link in the chat for you guys, and I will be able to help you out later.
Okay. You should all be able to see my screen. So as I said earlier, my name is Ryan Nidek. I'm the LEC chair for the Student Engineers Council, and I'm going to be going over LinkedIn basics. So LinkedIn, essentially you should think of it as two things. One, kind of a professional website showcasing yourself, but really more specifically, a extension of your resume, because the resume you use at a career fair is pretty much limited to one page. So that limits what you can put on there. So LinkedIn's a really great opportunity for if a recruiter wants to find out more information about you, they can go and get that information in a more verbose format. So the basics of a profile, your profile picture. Make sure your profile picture is professional. It doesn't necessarily need to be formal suit and tie type picture. I know both of the examples are, but just make sure it's something with you looking straight at the camera, not a group photo that's cropped, not a photo that you and your friends took out when you were hiking or going to sunflower fields. Make sure it's, you know, a professional photo of you looking straight at the camera. The tagline, make sure you summarize your brand in one line. So I purposely chose two different examples that went a different way of this. Tony made a point to talk about his internship that he's doing right now / co-op and talk about his education, whereas Ali talked about a student leadership position on campus. Both are okay and neither is incorrect. It's really about what you want the first thing that the recruiter to know about you to be. So just choose that strategically. Cover photo, it should be something relevant to your brand. What never fails is just a generic photo of Virginia Tech, or if you have a photo of you at an event like Tony does or something else that's a professional photo that would be good as a cover photo, you're free to use that as well. And then the location, LinkedIn will give you the choice of setting it as your metro area or as your exact address. I highly recommend choosing your metro area. I, for example, live in Gaithersburg, Maryland. The recruiters don't care that I live in Gaithersburg, Maryland, at least from a LinkedIn perspective. They care that I live in the Washington, D.C. metro area. And that's what's much more important. And that's what signifies location for a job. So that's what I would recommend. More profile basics. Personalize your URL. So the default LinkedIn URL is what I have under the bad section. That's my dad's LinkedIn profile. And it just has first name, last name, random number. That's not good. You can't put it on a resume. It's not easy to type. You can easily customize your profile in the settings with this little box here to have linkedin.com/in/ whatever you set it to be. I would recommend just first name, last name, first initial, last name, something that will be easy for them to type if they look at it on your resume, and then write a good summary. So Molly just talked about elevator pitch. Your summary is basically the written form of your elevator pitch. So I chose two examples here. And it should take about 30 seconds to read. So for example, Vifa's elevator pitch is, hello, my name is Vifa, and I'm a second-year undergraduate student at Virginia Tech pursuing a double major in computer science and ISC, along with a minor in math. I'm currently seeking a summer 2021 internship in fields of software development and program management. That is perfect, and I think it would satisfy Molly's requirements right there. It's short, it's to the point, and it says what you want. That's exactly what you want in the summary, and that's the first thing that the recruiter will likely read when they see your profile, beyond the cover photo, profile picture, and tagline. Experience, this is really the core section of your LinkedIn profile. It's employment and work. On your resume, it would be your employment or work experience section. LinkedIn just calls it experience. This should contain internships, co-ops, professional programs, or externships. That's maybe a little less common for engineers than business majors, but nonetheless, jobs and research positions, TA positions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is a bit of a controversial opinion, but I don't think it should contain extracurriculars, volunteer experience, et cetera, unless if the section would be empty otherwise. And I'll get to that later, but there's other sections on LinkedIn for that. And I just think that when you're, as Tony mentioned during the resume section, what they care about most is job experience and relevant technical experience. So that's really what should be most prominently featured in your experience section at the top of your profile. The next section is education. This kind of disagrees with what's in the resume section, but like I said earlier, LinkedIn, you have the opportunity to have more detail. So include high school and college on your LinkedIn profile. Just gives a little bit more background about you. Make sure you have proper start dates and end dates. You'd be surprised how many people have that set incorrectly. You can use Virginia Tech or Virginia Tech College of Engineering for your college. Both are pages that will populate with the Virginia Tech logo and all the information. And I see it both ways. And I don't really think recruiters have a preference one way or the other. And then this part is optional, but you have the ability to fill in with activities and societies, GPA and focus areas and minors. I don't think that's required on a LinkedIn. GPA maybe a little bit more so, is recommended at least for college GPA, especially if it's something that you're proud of, but it's not like a resume where if it's not there, they're thinking you're hiding something, because there's really less of a convention around it one way or the other. License and certifications. This section is much less common, but if you have certifications, there's no harm in including it. Even something like CPR or lifeguard certification, you may as well. It's a conversation starter. Maybe the recruiter was a lifeguard in high school or something. I don't know, but something good to include. And then the other thing is LinkedIn Learning. If you're like, oh no, I don't have anything to put on my LinkedIn profile, I don't have anything to put on my resume, LinkedIn has a great resource called LinkedIn Learning, which is an online course library that's made free to Virginia Tech students or students in any other higher education institution. So yes, go ahead, take LinkedIn Learning courses. I had to take one for a class I took through Pamplin last semester. So I have that on my LinkedIn profile because I took the course, so I may as well display it. Volunteer experience. So this is maybe a little bit of, there's mixed opinions on this. I think any extracurriculars or positions with leadership positions within organizations that you're not getting paid for, because you're not getting paid, by definition, you're volunteering your time. I think that's appropriate to go in the volunteer experience section. Utilizing this over the organization section, we'll talk about later, has advantages because of the increased visibility. You get the logo, you get the description, you get the bold text. It's much more visible. Skills and endorsements. Put your skills on LinkedIn. Unlike your resume where you're limited by one page, you can really add as many skills as you would like, and there's really no harm in doing it. All you're doing is making yourself appear in more search queries, which is only to your benefit. Ask your connections, especially people who might have a lot of connections, maybe a former manager, a former research advisor, et cetera, to endorse your skills. I chose Dr. Watford as an example here because she had lots of endorsements for her skills. So yes, and then return the favor and endorse the skills of your connections. So if you have a connection with somebody and see that they have these skills and, oh, I know that I can vouch for this skill, feel free to go and endorse them. And then people will see that you support their skills there. And that also links back to your profile. So it helps you to help them. Accomplishments. So this is kind of the catch-all section of everything that isn't at the top of the LinkedIn profile. It includes anything from publications and patents to test scores. Not that I would advise including that. Some people still have their SAT score on their LinkedIn, which I really think at like kind of what's the point? No one really cares anymore what you got on the SAT. To organizations. So organizations is probably the main one. Courses is another big one. Honors and awards. And then projects. The one thing I will say here is that a lot of the sections on LinkedIn are redundant. So I would not hesitate to, if you feel something is appropriate under multiple places, it's not necessarily bad to repeat, because the recruiter is generally going to scroll down to the section that they're most looking for. So if they scroll down to the organization section and that's where they're expecting to see your organizations, it's good to have it there. If they scroll the volunteer experience, you want to have it there. You want to have the appropriate information in the section where they're looking, and you're not limited to just one page like you would be on a resume. The next thing is, once you have your profile built out, you want to engage with your interests and engage with your connections. Follow companies, groups, schools. They all have LinkedIn pages that you can follow. And when you follow your page, it will take a cross section of the pages that you like and display that at the bottom of your profile. So a recruiter could see, oh, these are the things that they're interested in. I think I actually stole this from Molly's profile, but it shows different companies that she may be interested in or follows, and can help a recruiter get an idea of what her interests are. And then comment and like updates from your connections. So this is from my profile, and it just shows recent comments you have, recent posts that you've liked, recent things that you've shared. And I've read that recruiters like to see that you're active and engaging with your other connections. So, and it's also just good to see that you're using the platform regularly. And also, it always helps to follow up with old connections, because you never know when they'll come back to help you. Then the other thing is reach out. So after the career fair is over, you just met a recruiter. How do I follow up? I sent that last message on Brazen. Well, connect with them on LinkedIn. So when you go to connect with someone on LinkedIn, you can search them up and it'll ask if you want to customize the invitation. I highly recommend doing this. Add a note to the invitation. So just using my dad's profile as an example. Hi, Pat. Thanks for taking the time to talk at Engineering Expo earlier today. I've just submitted my application to Comic Sans Incorporated and look forward to hearing back from you. That's perfect. That's short. That's succinct. And you're also limited to 300 characters for that initial message anyway. So I would highly recommend doing that. That way they remember you and it's not just, oh, who's this random student from Virginia Tech connecting with me? And then cold messaging. So I just kind of threw this in there because it's something that people sometimes do and sometimes don't, depending on your comfort level. I've heard of people actually getting internship opportunities from cold messaging. So the way to do it is you search the name of the company, the position you would want, and then you filter by second or even first degree connections. You may as well see if you're already connected with someone with a job you want, and filter by school. So add Virginia Tech and Virginia Tech College of Engineering and reach out to alumni and, just ask, hey, I really find your job interesting. If you ever have time, I'd love to take 30 minutes and chat. And there's blog posts online about like how to craft the perfect LinkedIn cold message and all this stuff. But that's like a way of, let's say that you don't get what you want at Expo and you're in the winter and still want to reach out to people and make connections and see what's out there. The important thing here is not to make it about recruiting. Because that's not really what it's about. It's about growing your network, engaging with people who have been in your shoes before and just learning. And that can lead to opportunities down the line. So this is always a good, I guess, fallback. Or even if you do get what you want at Expo, it never hurts to grow your network and engage with Virginia Tech alumni. And with that, I'm here to help. We'll have the Zoom session afterwards. I'd love to review your profile and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or send me an email if you want to ask questions afterwards.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Molly. And again, thank you, Tony, for your amazing presentations. I hope you guys got something out of there. Again, if you guys have any questions, their contact information was in the slide before. Also, they have Zoom links that they're going to send out in the chat. You can go ahead and click on any one of them and just ask individualized questions. If you have specific questions on your resume, on your elevator pitch, you want to look over your LinkedIn, they could totally help you. So go ahead and you guys can break out into those. We're also going to have a Q&A session right now.
Should I answer the first? Should we go to the Zooms or should we stay for the Q&A? Us three.
I say stay for the Q&A. Let's answer if there's any other questions in here. But I think you guys covered all the questions that were asked. If you guys have any questions that you want to add last minute into here, we'll hang around for a couple minutes and then we can transition. But I think Q&A seems to be pretty empty.
Yeah,
I'll head over to my
one in there with the resume. As Shivani and Taylor answered it, I would just like to add that if you write that you have a canceled internship because of COVID, which I think is a good idea, make sure you put canceled just so that all your slots are filled in for every summer. It's a good idea. Make sure you put canceled, but then it looks almost even better than the experience you could get there when you write supplements and then write what you did to fill your summer and what things like personal projects you did and technical things you did over the summer that supplemented the canceled internship, because that looks so nice. That's all.
All righty. Break out if you guys want and go ask some questions. If not, again, my email was in the chat and we are all here to help. So I will stay here for a little bit.
So it looks like we have two questions. It says, will you guys be sending out the recording after? I can just answer that. We'll be posting this in our YouTube channel, so you should have access to all this information there. And then Miriam, this is one. It says, is it better to go in the morning or afternoon?
If this is for Expo, honestly, I'd say the morning, because I feel like if you can catch the recruiter in the morning, like once they're like there and ready, they got their coffee, they're ready to talk, they're usually more energized, so you can have a good conversation then. If you do have a class conflict, there is definitely no concern. There'll be recruiters throughout the entirety of the event. But if you want like an answer, whether morning or afternoon is preferred, I guess I would say go in the morning.
Looks like that was all of the questions we have in the chat. Does anyone who's left have any additional questions? Thank you guys for coming, whoever's left.
Yeah.